that they were always going to throw this angry, aggressive black girl narrative on me, just know I was on my P's and Q's. I knew the opportunity that was up hand. I don't come from, anybody that's in here that comes from ends, I come from a very broken home. Any opportunity for me was always to show my siblings, the people that come from where I come from, that we are more than our circumstances, that there is a way out of this, you know. Not how you start isn't how you end up.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book, you know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Misha B and the Talisa situation. You might have seen already the lives that I put up onto my actual channel. We're going to actually talk about the situation now and break it all the way down. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for the notification of the uploads, baby. And for those of you returnees, you got the minerals, you gotta be in the rose of bed. Yes. Alright, cool. So, just talking about obviously this particular situation, I think, you know, black women go through so much. I think that's why I've titled it this particular title, is that black women go through so much and they deal with stresses that even us as black men, we don't deal with, right? So when we talk about intersectionality, which is that there are intersections, right? For instance, a black woman will suffer what I suffer because she's a black person. Where we differ is that I won't suffer as a black woman, I suffer as a black man. And where she suffers twice is that she's a black person and a woman. And so therefore there's double the punishment almost, it seems like, when it comes to this oppressive system that we're in at the moment. Now when we're talking about institutional racism, some people say it doesn't exist, and then you get stories like this that tell you they do. And when we say about institutional racism, I'm talking about the whole structure of things coming together. Now, do I believe that Talisa necessarily is racist? Maybe not. But do I think she's ignorant? Potentially yes. And the reason why I say that is because in watching her video where she speaks about the Misha B situation, she talks about the fact she has black friends who then tell her to go and get educated. If you're going to have to get educated, it means you're ignorant. You do not require it, and you do not have the knowledge at that specific time to be able to express desired views and feelings towards a certain subject, right? Ignorant. And so therefore this ignorance, which I believe is also perpetuated by, I would say, mythological ideas about what a black woman is. If you've watched our video, we spoke about this, about how white femininity is always crossed against black femininity. Now here's my thing about this racism situation that we're getting a lot in today's society. What we're seeing is the exposure of these ideologies that are often unchecked and untrue and are false, that create strongholds in people's mind. And so the Bible tells us, listen, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Our weapons of warfare are carnal, okay? Are not carnal, sorry. Therefore, tearing down strongholds. Strongholds can be physical, but they're also mental. They are things that hold strong in your mind. They are mental blocks. They're obstacles. They are words and ideas and myths that have held a particular imagery that contributes towards a certain behavior. Now I spoke about this in my other video. I spoke about attraction, evoking, recalling, right? The word evoke is to bring forth, is to recall. Now you only can recall what you've been fed. So when Talisa's dealing with Misha B, and you know, I watched a video as well, and probably we'll do a breakdown of that whole video on its own as well. I watched a video where Talisa actually spoke about Misha B, and she brought out a backstage thing onto the front stage.
I think, Misha, that you're very competitive, and I've seen a different side of you backstage, and I think you don't realise that you do it, but...
Backstage thing onto the front stage, right? I want to tell you something about institutional racism. Institutional racism isn't you calling me a nigger. Institutional racism often comes from the fact that you have also within this structure of white privilege, right? She intentionally brought a backstage issue to the front stage to sabotage Misha B's chance of winning, right? Because what she said was, you're great, you're a superstar, you're ready made, but, and then Louis did the exact same thing, you're great, you're this, but, when you add a but, you negate everything you just said, right? And this was very cleverly done by these two, on purpose as well, you know. On purposely done. Shout out Kelly and shout out Gary as well. I'm not gonna lie to you. Shout out Kelly, shout out Gary Barlow for stepping in and interceding on their behalf. When we talk about institutional racism, we have to also talk about how it's a power structure, right? And the power structure is almost like an electrical grid. white privilege can tap in at any single time they want. And this is the trouble with the structure that we have at the moment. That if you are a white person, it's like you've got a plug that can plug into the wall socket and begin to tap into the power source called white privilege. And so what she did was that she then sabotaged Misha B by one calling her feisty, and then Louis said that basically she's a bully, and then obviously Talisa was saying that basically, you know, your attitude, how you made people cry. But the whole point was this: obviously there were things that were done, but guess what? Talisa couldn't mention what was actually done. No one could mention what she actually did. It just said that there were things that were done. You made my person cry. By doing what? If I cry, what is the charge here? You understand? So I totally understand Misha B's frustration and anger. What she was up against was a machine. She's up against a system, right? A power structure that allows for white privilege to exist, grow, be nurtured, and have the ability to kill. Okay? So when you're dealing with Misha B's situation, she spoke about the fact that, you know what, there were other white, and what I loved about Misha B's story is that she also spoke about the white women that actually uplifted her. She spoke about how when she came off the stage, she had her, you know, stylists and everything like that. There were white women that uplifted her. And this is the work that we're talking about, because as people, we're saying that we need allies. We need people that are on our side. We need people that are going to speak truth. And it can't be silent, right? So their support was much needed, and their support was much loved and much appreciated.
I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm not here to shame anybody. And this is not a anti-white thing. This is not that. You know, that just as much as my people, my black people have uplifted me, I've had many white people and people of different races uplift me also. I've never been outraged like this. My friends in different countries around the world, everybody speaking, whether their voice is shaken, speaking with every ounce of breath in them, speaking till their voices are heard.
Appreciated. Dealing with the Misha B situation, you know, she went on to say about how when the situation actually occurred, the actual incident of what happened was that backstage or whatever, she had a situation with Kitty or whatever, right? And Kitty was just moving mad, right? And caused an issue between herself and Misha, and she was just basically looking for a reason to get at Misha, right?
And Kitty Brooknell is her name. She then, I said, Kitty, please can you move out the way? She ignored me. She was like, can I hear something? So I'm like, Kitty, can you get out of the way? She's ignoring me. Then Marcus Collins, shout out to Marcus Collins, love Marcus. Another male of colour, another black man, asked Kitty to move out the way. Kitty moved immediately.
Right? Let me tell you something about competition. Competition naturally is going to breed competitiveness. It's called a competition for a reason. There's going to be competitiveness. I would be surprised if you weren't competitive. What's the point of being in a competition if you're not going to be competitive? Don't really make sense. So when Louis made that point about the fact that Talisa made that point about too competitive, I don't understand what that means because of competition.
I think, Misha, that you're very competitive, and I've seen a different side of you backstage.
Number two, Louis made a point about the fact she's overconfident, and I think Misha B addressed this in this thing where she said, "What do you mean? Why is it a black woman can't be overconfident? Why can't a black woman be confident without it being overconfident?" And the reason why is because when we look at the history, the black woman was a slave, right? And so was a black man. But the black woman was in the field, unlike the other women who was either light-skinned or white who were in the house, right? Now, here's the thing. As a slave, what have you got to smile about, slave? What you got to smile about, nigger? What have you got to smile about, slave? Right? Because the whole point is I got to keep you in your place. That same ideology and thought process exists today because it's a power structure. So the same thing here that Louis did, he didn't even realize he did it. He tapped into what? The structure of institutional racism. He tapped into white privilege. He said, I hope you're not too overconfident. What does that even mean? Who's too overconfident? I'm confident in my ability. Why would that word even come out of your mouth? Right? Because it's tapping into the what? The destruction of a black woman. It's tapping into certain words that have been used against her for a majority of time. So one of the words now is called being overconfident, right? That you're doing too much. You're being too confident in this arena, right? So I'm gonna break you down by saying I'm not being too overconfident, right? It's a sly dig, right? Because like I said, the slave should have nothing to smile about. What are you smiling about? You're a slave. You shouldn't be smiling. Why are you happy for? You shouldn't be happy. You're a slave. You understand? Because again, it comes down to power. It's not to do with necessarily anything else, but power and control. Okay, cool. So that was also an issue as well. Misha obviously just went on to explain the fact that when Kiki moved for the black man, that came to say excuse me, but she didn't move when Misha B was coming. So she's just basically trying to start something. Obviously, Kitty's then obviously kind of spread a few rumors, I guess, amongst the other members, like Little Mix and that. And that's turned into a whole big scenario where they've had a conversation in private or in the and it looks like she's been ambushed as well by a few of the girls, and then basically everybody has turned against her, right? And nobody's really backing her. No one's saying that she's not a mean person. Nobody's saying that she's not a bully. Nobody's saying that she's not a bad person. Everybody has either kept quiet or they were the ones that were speaking, which is Little Mix. So you can understand something. Her whole world now is going to turn upside down, 360, right? Turn all the way upside down. And so now her thought process is, I'm an enemy in here. I'm all of these people are enemies. And what that does to the mindset, it does wild things. When you realize that everybody around you is enemies, it makes life hard to hope. Because where do you turn to? There's no safe corner. There's no safe haven. You now become up here, begins to lose something because now you go into war mode and everybody's a threat. And when you do that, you can't sleep properly. You can't even rest properly because you've got one eye open just in case. Who else can try it? I've got to be on alert. I've always got to be awake. I've always got to be, you know what I'm saying? So you never can really rest. That does something to the psyche. Well, she obviously then went on to say that, she had PTSD when she went to the doctors and they said to her, you got PTSD from the situation that happened. And so the black woman is feared and revered when she begins to excel in not only her beauty, but her imagination, her creativity, her ingenuity, her actual academia or intelligence. When she begins to excel in her finances, when she begins to excel in thingy, even the black man joins in bringing her down. And the reason why, again, is because the black man ends up becoming the slave that he was in the field, doing the work of the slave master. Right? The impact of the slave master was to make the black man turn against the black woman, right? By separating them and making sure that they rape the black woman, right? Making them detestable to the black man. So now the black man on his own now being conditioned in a certain way that now he also can't take the fact that the black woman is getting closer in terms of finances, status and power and reaching for the stars. They're getting closer to the whiteness, and I'm talking in terms of standard now. Right? Because we're breaking things down in terms of standard, right? Because apparently the colonial master have set the standard. So when the black woman begins to excel and grow and reach that standard that seems like is a white standard of perfection or greatness, right? The black man wants to tear her down because you can't get it before I get it. You can't get it before I get it, right? The ego and the pride of a man begins to kick in. You can't get it before I get it. She said obviously as well, in between that particular video as well, she said obviously that she was very much aware of her perception. Being in that place, the angry black woman perception was going to be there, right? And it's absolutely true. As soon as you get angry as a black woman, this myth of you being an angry black woman, and the reason again comes from the fact that it's about dehumanizing you and removing your femininity, right? That's why a lot of black men, when they're talking about they don't date black women, they say black women are angry. They're angry. The reason why they're seemingly angry is because the white colonial master has set it fit that the black woman must be angry and everything like that because it removes her from femininity, right? A black angry woman removes her from femininity and brings her into masculinity and bestiality. Again, remember I talked to you about this in another video. I said that when they were trying to degrade the black woman and make sure she was unattractive, they had to make her look like a beast. So you do that by using certain words that begin to tear down the image and the beauty of that individual person to other eyes. Because listen, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's through information we get told what is beautiful. Your culture, your society tells you what is beautiful. And therefore, if you use certain words, it begins to create an image. When you look at a woman, why you find her attractive, why you don't find her attractive. Real spit. And then obviously, just saying that as well about being an angry black woman, amongst all of that as well, is the fact that you have to think about your actions. That's pain in itself. That struggle in itself. If I have to think about every move I make, but you don't think about every move you make, you move free. I move with luggage because I have to think about everything I do. Just in case you try to label me, I have to give you no room. There's no room for error. That means basically there's a lot of pressure on my neck from day one. When I enter your stratosphere, I know that I can't do certain things because the moment I do it, I look a certain way. And they still did it. They still did it. Do you understand? They still did it with Talisa and Louis. They still did it. Do you understand? So you have to understand that there's this whole system. It's not just about nigger. The whole system is not about nigger. It's about tearing down the image. You understand? Tearing down the image and making it impossible to live without being an enemy of state. It got to the point so bad for Misha B that she felt like she wanted to commit suicide. And it's funny because obviously she spoke about obviously Louis coming on verbal violence, right? And stuff like that. And the fact that Talisa never spent time with her but still managed to give her a judgment about what kind of character her was. And obviously, again, this is all we're talking about, the fact that these things happen because, again, you know, there is a system in place that's trying to destroy the black woman and the black man. And what their experiences are of the system is that the system tries to break them. Some shape, form, or fashion, it tries to break them. But Father God, we thank you for black women being so strong and being so elegant with it, all right? They tried to break them. And this is what they tried to do with Misha B. They tried to break her by not breaking her physically, but trying to break her emotionally and mentally. So they tried to do certain wordings and certain tactics that would try to break her. You know, and it didn't work. But it did what it did cause for her to have some mental, you know, incapacities, and the fact that she had to go to have a checkup, and she found out she had PTSD and everything like that. So honestly and truthfully, you know, with the Misha B situation, it hurt me. It hurt me to see her in so much pain. It hurt me. I cried in this video. I cried watching her video because I knew the pain that she's talking about. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know it specifically, but as a black man, I know the struggles that we face, and I know the difficulties we face in a life that, in a world that seems like they don't want us, that they don't like us, and they hate us, and they want us to go and burn and die if they could. Do you know what I'm saying? Or they would use us as slaves. Do you know what I mean? So I got it. I understood it, and I felt for her. You understand? So yeah. Guys, I want to leave it there. I hope you liked what we did there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the what? Uploads, baby. Appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded. More love.